Right, I wanted to circle back to the gun debate, just for a second, because there was the last episode that I recorded, the random rant episode number 94, if I'm not mistaken, was the episode where I spoke about the gun debate and my thoughts on it, and the recent mass shooting that occurred. And there was something that I forgot to mention, which was kind of like a call to action type of thing, or like a tip or advice for anyone and everyone who's like up in arms about it and, you know, wants to see a change and stuff like that. Don't go about it the same way that I feel always has been like the go-to, which is like, you know, petitioning Congress and asking them to like change and enact, you know, stricter laws and enact common sense gun laws now, but rather vote them out. Vote out the people that are not playing ball or not acting in your best interest. I know it's not a popular thing to say, or, you know, people kind of like roll their eyes and groan when you speak to them about voting, but that is much closer to the root of the issue, and I feel much more effective of an attempt to like correct that wrong than just asking a congressman that's been in office for 10 years, 15 years, 30 years to vote against what is now their interests. And we need to understand that it's very doable to make that happen. I mean, I think we often conflate as like the voting populace. We often conflate, you know, the presidency and that election with all the other elections, you know, our more local elections or the midterm elections where you vote for Congress and senator, and then even lower than that, like state senator and city council, mayor, governor, all these smaller elections that have more of a direct impact to us. The congressional races are more in line with those races than they are with the presidential races, even though Congress is at the federal level, but your congressman is tied to a specific district, which is your district. And by district, I mean a specific like physical place. Like, let's say like the town that you live in, Howard Beach, Ozone Park, Woodhaven, you know, little like areas, the geographical area that you live in, you know, I don't know, a 30-mile radius or whatever it is. Like, they have a specific coverage area that they represent. And similar to like a city council member, an assemblyman or woman, and they just have like smaller districts within those larger districts that congressman or congresswoman covers. Whereas the president doesn't have that. The president is just the nation is his district, if you will. So it kind of makes sense. The argument of, you know, in a practical sense, it makes sense. Philosophically, it doesn't make any sense at all. But the argument of, you know, I live in New York, why am I going to vote if, you know, New York is going to be a blue state anyway, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not the case for the smaller elections, like congressional races that are coming up now in 2018. These midterm elections, there's far less turnout for these races because people are not as engaged at this level. I think it's something like 40% of eligible voters actually vote in midterm elections, meaning that there's 60% out of 100 people, let's say, that can vote for the congressman in your district that may be voting against common sense gun laws. You know, 40 people go to vote. There's 60 others that just stay home because they don't know about it, they don't care enough about it, etc. That's where you attack. That's where those are the people you need to like hit up, as well as the 40 that are going, the 40% that are going, the triple prime voters, double prime voters, prime voters, which means that they're voters that have voted in a prime election in the last prime election, the last 2 prime elections, the last 3 prime elections, etc. You can go out there, get out the vote, find a politician to back that backs, common sense law reform, that is willing to propose to make certain changes. And you do this by getting out the vote yourself, telling people to go vote, going door knocking, volunteering for free a couple weekends, here and there for a politician. And these elections are literally won with a couple hundred votes. Like, it's nothing extraordinary. It's not like, millions and tens of thousands, and it's really not. Just to give you a practical example, the congressman in my district, the total turnout for his last election was 8,600 people, 8,635 people, 7,056 of which voted for him, and 1,579 voted for the person challenging him. A lot of these congressmen and people that have been elected officials for a long time have name recognition within their districts, because it's being the elected official in the district. Like, you're constantly mailing things to the people that vote in your district, and your name's out there, and your name's on billboards and stuff like that, and people recognize the name. And a lot of people vote based off of name recognition. It's like one of the number one commodities in an election. And I think that scares people off from running against these incumbents, but it's very doable, or at least a lot more doable when you see it, that when you look at it this way of, overcoming a figure of 7,000 versus 7 million or something like that. And these people in the march for DC, this march in DC, the what was it called? The March for Our Lives protest in DC had something like 500,000, 500,000 people. And there were protests all around in New York, LA, Baltimore, Miami. If these people or these kids that are 17 going on 18 going on 19, that, at 18 you have the right to vote, continued with this momentum throughout this election cycle, they can make a huge dent, a huge impact into the current makeup of Congress, which is where the roadblocks lie. And that's just, my 2 cents and my piece of advice for anyone who wants it. Something that was dope from the march was the speech given by Emma Gonzalez. And she looks like 11 from Stranger Things. She had the shave head thing going. And she gave a very, very touching, impactful speech where she took the time that she had, and, she dropped her gems and, said what she wanted to say, but also took the time, knowing that it was a live broadcast, to give a moment of silence, which was super impactful, more impactful than a lot of the words that anyone else said. Was the silence that she delivered and made us all live through. She just stood there at the podium for 6 minutes and change, symbolizing the 6 minutes and I think it was 17 seconds that the shooter was shooting, and took the lives of almost 20 people. And she just stood there at the podium, and then she started tearing, and you see tears coming down her eyes, and then it shows the audience and they were going through the same thing, and it was really impactful. And then she continued with her speech after that, and just walked off like a boss, like fucking 11 from Stranger Things. And it was pretty cool. It was pretty powerful to see.